Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the West Yorkshire Football Show and our usual Monday night roundup here, looking back at all of the weekend's action. I'm Chris Bell, delighted to say I'm joined, as ever, by Stephen Browne, by Gareth Walker, and Stephen Downes. We'll be joined a little bit later on by Jayson Boocker as well, hopefully, when we get into our Leeds United-based discussion. First things first, gents. How are we all doing? Are we well?
Absolutely buzzing. But absolutely buzzing.
Oh, well, I can imagine that Downesy will be the happiest of the lot.
Downesy, and you get one of them from me.
It was a mixture of all emotions. It was a great weekend. Town won, Leeds collapsed into oblivion. It's brilliant.
I mean, he's just been horrible now, isn't he, Brownie? So
I'm in the midst of a football depression, fellas. What can I say?
Oh, Brownie, I've been in for. I feel so sorry for you. I've been in one for 6 years, mate. Get over it.
Oh dear. Well, we will talk about Brownie's depression a little bit later on. As I say, hopefully when Jay gets here to maybe pick him up ever so slightly. We'll start, though, by running through the non-league stuff. We sadly haven't got Lewis with us this week, so I'm just going to do a bit of a whistle-stop trip through the non-league scene and all the things that happened over the course of the weekend. Halifax, then we'll start with. It's been a bit of a dodgy run of late. They've turned things around. They got a good 3-0 win against former manager Chris Millington's Solihull Moorside. His return to the show was not a happy afternoon, sadly, for Chris Millington and for Andy Cooper. But Will Harris, as you can see there, had a great afternoon, getting a hat-trick in the process. A new signing from the summer. He got, I'll say, 3 goals in that one. Turning our attentions to the Northern Premier League, Guiseley, they got a 4-2 win. They were 2-0 down at half-time against Ashton United. They came back in the second half with 4 goals to win by 4-2. A great win for Ian Richards' side. So that's 4 games unbeaten now for them. And Ian Richards has made an absolutely superb start to life at Nethermore, and long may that continue. Into the MPL East, and these were the weekend's fixtures and the weekend's results, over the course of the weekend. As you can see, Brighouse Town picked up a 1-1 draw against Bridlington. Silson's trip to the North East face concert was called off. Garforth were beaten slightly surprisingly by the side that were bottom of the table going into that game, Blythe Town. They lost 1-0 to the side from the North East. Emily, they picked up a good 1-0 win away at Newton Aycliffe. And Pontefract Colliery's got a 1-1 draw at home to Dunstan. Steve, a quick word down on Emily. Again, another good win for them. And in particular as well for Emily, a good signing in midweek as well, with Gabriel Johnson joining the Emily ranks. Of course, a man known in these parts for his time at Guiseley.
Yeah, very experienced professional. Good win for Emily. Like you say, they keep on rolling. I know that was it was going to be a tough game at Newton Aycliffe. I think it was a tough game last year when they played them both home and away, actually. So they're a decent side. Emily have brought in a few bodies lately. Gabriel, Bailey Thompson, of course. Chris, you might know from his Guiseley days as well. So they've brought some attacking threat up there. It's Richard Tracy will be delighted with the victory. I hope to speak to him later in the week to do a piece for the Emily website.
Yeah, it certainly keeps them well in that playoff hunt as well, doesn't it, Steve?
Yeah, I mean, listen, nobody's really catching red card at the top still, but I think the playoff places, if Emily can just keep in there, they've got a chance. They have got a chance. I think, you look at the other side, obviously, Bradford Park Avenue, are up there, and Bridlington are probably doing better than what expected. Maybe the same could be said for Ponty. So there are a couple of surprises in there. Dunstan, you might expect better. Garforth, 11th mid-table, they'll be happy with that. Brighouse will be delighted being in 12th, and so will Ossett in 13th. And obviously Silsden have risen in 14th. So, Emily and Bradford Park Avenue doing really well for our region. And let's all imagine that it'll be an Emily Bradford playoff final. I'll be on Emily's side. Lou will be on Bradford Park Avenue's side. I'm sure you might be with him on that one, Chris. So Mr. Browne will have to come and join me on the Emily side. I think that's what we'll oh, Gaz, if Gaz makes the long trip from Lancashire, that's how we'll tip the scales, I think.
A quick flick through the Northern Counties East, the Premier Division games over the weekend. Bradford Derby, there was on Saturday between Campion and Albion. Campion running out 2-0 winners in that one. Golker also ran out 2-0 winners against Pickering Town, with George Doyle amongst the goal scorers in that one. Liversidge also continued their good start to the season with a 2-1 win over Handsworth. So Liversidge currently top of the table. They are 7 points clear of second, with 3 games in hand on second place Beverley Town as well. So things going very, very well for Danny Forest sides down at Claiborne. Penistone Church got a 1-1 draw against Beverley Town. Eccleshill United, they won away at Tadcaster Albion by 3-2. So a good win for Lee Elam's side there. And Thackley, they were beaten at home by Rossington Main by 3-1. Plenty of goals, though, it's fair to say, in the Premier League of the Northern Counties East League over the weekend. A lot of change in Division 1 for Ilkley Town. Lou would probably be the best person to kind of discuss this, but they've had a completely new board of directors, or rather, the previous board resigned completely. Sam Dexter, who'd been at the club for, I think, over a decade or around a decade or so, stood down as first team manager. And a lot of change. They've appointed Jacob Misty, who was the assistant manager to Roy Mason at Steeton, as the new first team manager there. But he didn't get off to the best of starts. A 4-1 defeat away on the road at Appleby Fronium, who were one of the strugglers in the NCL Division 1. So a poor start for him, but we're looking to turn things around, I'm sure, in due course. Elsewhere, South Leeds, they were beaten on the road 2-0 away at Goole. Leeds UFCA beat Route 1 Rovers by 3-2. And Nostell Miners Welfare, they were beaten 3-0 away at Winterton Rangers. So in terms of the table for the NCL Division 1, the highest side for us is currently Wakefield, who didn't play in the league on Saturday, but they're currently 4th, with Leeds UFCA in 5th. So again, 2 Yorkshire sides in the playoff places as it stands in the Northern Counties East League Division 1. In the Northern West Counties League, our only kind of side that we cover is Barlick Town. They got a 1-1 draw on Saturday at home to FC St Helens and sit in mid-table. That runs through a very quick whistle-stop tour of the non-league scene from our region. We'll turn our attentions then to the Football League and into League 1 we go, and we'll get the happiness out of the way quick, and then it's all downhill afterwards. So, Downsy, the Terriers keep barking on.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we do on this channel, isn't it? We always centre on the negative to get the views in, to get the views. No, it's been a good weekend. Town performed really well. Another 3-1 victory. That's 9 goals in the last 3 games and only 3 conceded. So, change of formation for Mr. Grant has certainly done wonders. A bit of a settled side due to injuries to players. Obviously, that some players are now coming back, which is good to see. The goals scored early with Bojan Radulovic in the 4th minute. And from then on, really, in the first 20 minutes, we absolutely blew Mansfield away. I put my customary I love football message in the chat. And I expected to say I hate football.
Customary. It's extremely rare you put that in the chat. It's usually that you hate football. Let's not sugarcoat it. It's usually
no. It normally is, and it has been for the last 6 years. But I either love it or I hate it. Well, on Saturday I certainly loved it, and 20 minutes in, we were 3-0 up by the 3rd goal. I couldn't believe it. I genuinely said, and I said this on Town Talk show last night. Go check it out if you haven't seen it already. By the 3rd goal, I said to my dad, it's the best we've played in 3 years. I couldn't believe how well we were playing. We were passing the ball around. It was unreal. Mansfield just couldn't get hold of us. And then Nigel Clough, as the experienced gaffer that he is, had a little tweak with his team, made them slightly more solid. Sort of the first half played out, but we could have been 6-0 up in the first half. And then they do eventually score in the second half. You could see it coming. Slightly, not that they were massively on top of us, but they were creating more chances, and It was just an honest mistake at the back, missed header and not picked up our man. Mansfield scored, but I was never worried really, and we got a fantastic 3 points to take us into the next 6 games over a 20-day period.
Yeah, I mean, Jed's been in touch as well. He says, morning, boys, and Downsy. What a difference 3 games makes if you're a Town fan. Bojan and Charles finding their major. I mean, they're certainly finding the mojo, if nothing else at the moment. Dion Charles obviously he's not been flavour of the month, has he? It's fair to say, in his time at Huddersfield Town. Now, it's one of those that when he made the move, I thought that's a great signing and could prove to be. It's taken him a long time to settle in, but I say out of nowhere, settling in, he has done, and he's finding the back of the net.
Yeah, I think Dion he hasn't helped himself in necessarily his first early days at Town, and the whole going to watch Bolton at Blackpool going to watch Bolton while we were at Blackpool didn't certainly help. Again, I think it was a storm in a teacup when you go back and watch it. But listen, he's doing the business now. He's been given the shirt. Both him and Bojan were going to be out the club on the last day of the transfer window. Sorry, we were trying to get rid of him. Just anyone, we could have given him to Halifax. We were just anything, but end of the day, we've kept them. They've worked really hard in training. They've kept Taylor and May on the toes. Obviously, Taylor's not been performing either. May got sent off, and with a change of formation, Grant's decided to pick these 2 lads, and they've been doing the business. And you've got to say that they're taking their opportunity. I think the thing with Charles is, look, we know he can score goals in this league. I don't think that should be in doubt. He did it for Bolton over a number of seasons. He's taken the time to get going. It's like, when you grow up, you enjoy spirits and beer as a youngster, and then eventually you get to liking red wine eventually, don't you? And so it gets you a bit of time to taste the real alcohol, let's say.
Classic Stephen Downes analogies that make absolutely no sense at times, or most of the time, to be fair.
Well, that one did make sense, so stick that in your pipe and smoke it.
I mean,
I'm not sure it did.
Browne and Gaz, I'm not sure it did. Yeah, thank you, Gaz. Thank you. I mean,
did it my head?
In Huddersfield, it makes sense.
We touched on it earlier that obviously tomorrow night, Town are back in action away at Luton Town. I know that Jed has touched on it as well in terms of the league is mad. And if Town were to win at Luton, you go up to second, which is, I'd say, absolutely seems crazy. I mean, I'll bring the right table up. Oh, no, that was the wrong one. That was the MPL East. There we go. I'll find the right one that I did include Huddersfield on, even though the temptation was to just go with that one, the important area. And as you can see, like it is a crazy, crazy league. We've said it all season long about League One. The fact that when you look at that, there are only 7 points between Cardiff at the top and Burton Albion in 14th.
There's only 15 points between first and 24th. I mean, that's mental in itself. The whole table is concertinaed by 15 points. I don't know whether maybe you lads can have an opinion on this. Does that mean the league is poor? Or does that mean the league is quite competitive and good that anybody can beat anybody? I'm not too sure myself.
I think it's the latter. I mean, look, it depends on what your narrative is and how you want to twist it. I will go with the latter, though. I think it's remarkable because we've seen it at the top of the table that anyone has shown throughout the season that anyone can beat anyone on their day. Let's be honest. And was it look, Burton that came to your place, Gaz, and went away with a win only a couple of weeks or so ago?
Yeah, 10 days ago. They were fantastic, to be fair to them. I thought we spoke about it on the pod, didn't we? I thought that they'd come and anti-footballers, but they really didn't. I mean, they took advantage of some really sloppy and careless play from us, but they totally outplayed us in that first half. And I saw an interview with Gary Bowyer the other day where they were asking him about the playoffs. So it's like you say, it's one of those where anybody can beat anybody. I don't think it necessarily tells you much about the quality of the league. What it does tell you is that teams are all of a similar quality.
I think
this is the bad thing, though, because look at where Burton are now compared to, again, that game prior to the City game where Burton came to Huddersfield, Downsy, and obviously took a point. And at that point, I know Town fans were pretty livid, to be fair, that Town hadn't beaten Burton. But again, it goes to show there's example. I can't remember. Did Burton beat Cardiff as well recently? I think.
Yeah,
or one of the lower sides certainly picked up an unexpected result against Cardiff. It is a remarkably tight league. It is bonkers.
They beat Bolton, didn't they?
That was it. Bolton, yes.
And Northampton beat Cardiff this weekend 2-1. But yeah, I mean, look at the team in 10th. You know, I mean, that's Wycombe Wanderers, and they were in the relegation places in the first 6 games of the season. And
that's
then
the Michael Duff effect.
Michael Duff's taken over, and genuinely, I saw the stat the other day. He's the best Wycombe manager to be given the job, and in his first, is it 8 games? He's the best statistical manager to ever take over at that football club. And they're now 10th, and I don't think they've lost in 5 games. It's unreal.
Yeah, they beat us at the weekend.
But I think, you know, you look at other teams like Rotherham there, they've gone up. Luton are in 12th now. They've just been beaten by Barnsley, that was 5-0 and pretty demolished by Barnsley by all accounts. The Tykes hit the woodwork in that game twice as well, so it could have been even worse than 5-0. Jack Wilshere's just taken over there. I don't see why Town can't go to Luton and get a win. You know, we're confident. We're riding high at the moment. I'm begging Grant to not change the team, if I'm honest. I know he'll be dying to tinker with it. Please don't, Lee. Just leave him alone and let the 11 players that played on Saturday go out and do it again. You don't need to tinker with the team.
I mean, look, it's one of those, though. As much as you could look and say that Town should be obviously confident going into that one, you could easily see Luton picking up a win as well, just because of the way the nature that League One's been. Brownie, I know you said you want to come in?
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, because obviously it's been a couple of weeks, I think, since I've been on the show, and the feeling around Grant last time I was on, it was very negative, and you know, you did wonder, you question how much time he was actually going to get. I just wanted to ask Downesy, what's the feeling around Grant at the moment in the fan base? I mean, is it kind of swung massively in favour, or is it just that sense of trepidation still? Where are you guys at with him at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, interestingly, I do want to say that I actually never said that I wanted Grant to be sacked. I said if we lost to Plymouth, he had to go. And obviously we went and beat Mansfield, and then in the cup, and then we played Plymouth and beat them. So for me, I think the majority of fans are still have that trepidation, Brownie, I'll be honest. There needs a lot of trust rebuilding from this run that we've been on. He's not a charismatic manager, I'll be honest. He's not a Warnock. He's not you don't instantly love him. You know, like a Bielsa at Leeds say. You know, I think you've got that problem with Farken, and I'm sure we'll come on to talk about him later on. You know, some managers you just fall in love with, don't you? I fell a little bit in love with Michael Duff, I'll be honest. And I stated quite, you know, ferociously on here that I never wanted Duff to be sacked. And so I think the fan base is happy that Grant's turning it round. I think they're happy that he's obviously learned. Now, whether that's he's had to learn because of injuries and the situation he's been in, and you know, that's fine. But hopefully he's learning. The real test will be, and I did say this, I think after the Plymouth game, the test will be when he gets more players back, and he's starting to get players back now. So obviously Alfie May can play tomorrow. You know, Alfie May's back in the team now. Does that mean that he goes straight back in ahead of Bojan or Charles? Personally, I don't think he should. I don't think he's warranted that. I think he's got to earn his place back in the team. But Alfie May is a League One striker and a very, very good one. So does he? Do you know what I mean? There's things at play that you think, you know, what's Grant going to do? Because obviously as well, he's going to have to manage, you know, big personalities. Joe Taylor will not be happy that he sat on the bench at Town constantly and not getting a proper opportunity to show what he's about. So there's a lot of things at play at Town in a minute. Grant's going to have to spin a few plates, I think, in these next 6 games. So yeah, I don't know whether that answered your question or not. I don't think it's massively swung, mate, but I think there's little bits there that people are going, right, well, you know, if you carry on and you win, I don't know, 4 games in the next 6, then we might be talking quite a big swing.
Yeah.
Gaz?
Cheers, mate.
Yeah, you talked about a change in formation. I presume that is inclusive of going 2 up top rather than 1 up top, Downes. Is that what he's done?
Yeah, it's a weird 4-4-2, so it's not a Chris Bell standard 4-4-2. It's a sort of lopsided 4-4-2 where we've got Miller and Ruskin on the left, who are very much your typical wide players, left back and left winger, and then on the right it's kind of Ben Wiles is tucking in as playing a more old-fashioned inside forward role. But he's sort of out wide, but he's sort of cutting in constantly, and Sorensen's overlapping. So it is a bit of a weird 4-4-2 that we're playing, but it's definitely helped. And I think the one thing at Town, and I've always said this, it doesn't matter what squad we've had. You put round pegs in round holes, and you play simple football at Town, and you get the best out of the players that we've got. Then that's all fans want to see, and that currently in the last 3 games is what's happened, mate.
Yeah, the reason I asked that was obviously because you've spoken for a while about needing some physicality up top, and obviously Radulovic is providing that. Now, it'd be interesting to see, obviously Charles is scoring goals, but it'd be interesting to see if Taylor or May could play with Radulovic and do the sort of same job that Charles is doing. But to the way you're talking there and the way that you spoke about needing physicality up top, it sounds to me like he's the one that's made a big difference, having someone up there to play off, mate.
Oh, absolutely. The thing about Bojan is that ever since he's come to the club, he's obviously a technical footballer, but a big man at that. He's not a Carl Udlin who can't trap a bag of cement and can't head a ball, even though he's 6'9", and he's not a John Parkin-esque or someone of that ilk where he'll go and smash defenders about. But what it is he's cute. He's got soft feet. He can hold the ball up, pass the ball off, and be really effective up there, and then get in the box when he needs to, and he can finish. He showed that himself in the last 3 games. I think Charles is a bit of a perfect partner for him, really, because he does all the running. The one thing Bojan isn't, he's not quick, and I wouldn't say he's like got the best stamina in the world to play an intensive style for 90 minutes. But somebody like Charles, somebody like Alfie May, definitely has. I think Alfie May will be a good partner for Bojan, but as we've seen at City, you have to say, you play players that are in form, and that's what Charles is in form.
Oh, Chris, you're muted, mate.
Yeah, comment from Jed. I mean, he says recent games are having like 20 shots a game, Soundsy. Where's that come from? Is that from the formation change primarily?
Yeah, to be honest, Jed's right. Yeah, we are averaging. I don't know if it's exactly 20. Jed might be right on that. But we are averaging a lot of shots. I mean, in the first half against Mansfield, we had 9 shots on target in the first 20 minutes. I've never seen Town. I don't think I've ever seen Town have 9 shots on target in 20 minutes. Never mind across the full game. So the attacking element's a lot better. It's weird because he's playing Marcus Harness in centre midfield. I don't know where the hell that's come from. It's a bit like what Newcastle did with Joe Linton. By the way, I'm not saying that Marcus Harness is as good as Joe Linton before anybody says in the comments, but it's that sort of, Harness has never played as a centre midfield player. He's played as a centre attacking midfield player, but a very much high number 10 role. But in this, he's playing as a number 8, and it's really interesting to see from a tactical point of view, and he's playing really, really well in it. I mean, I've been quite a critic of Harness and Ledson this season because of where they've come from and where we've signed them from. But they've on Saturday, they were absolutely outstanding. I mean, in that first 20 minutes, I couldn't give any Town player below an 8. And I don't think that's happened for 3-4 years, like I said. So if we go if we won tomorrow and went second, outstanding, fantastic. I know you're all bored of me moaning on here week after week because of how Town have been crap, but it's nice to come on and be positive. Town Talk yesterday was a joy to do.
I think I preferred it when you were miserable.
Most people do, mate.
Just before we kind of fully move on from us, a quick look at the fixtures then between now and the end of the year, really, just to kind of see what you think the running will look like between now and January. And obviously, as we mentioned, Luton away tomorrow won't be an easy game. Another tough-looking game against Wimbledon at home on Saturday, although they've dropped off the pace maybe ever so slightly compared to where they were previously. And then as for December, it's a very, very busy month for League Grant side. As you can see, start with the EFL Trophy against Lincoln, then league games against the likes of Cardiff, Wigan, Rotherham, all in there again. It's a very mixed month, though, isn't it? Because you look at that and you've then got sides that are not doing so well, I guess, in the form of, your Cobblers, your Port Vales, and the like. So what do you expect for the month?
Yeah, I mean, Luton tomorrow technically probably is going to be our hardest game, I would say.
Cardiff away.
No, you didn't let me finish. You didn't let me finish. So obviously for the rest of this month, Luton is going to be the hardest game, and then in December you've got Cardiff away. I think you look at the other games and listen. I am not underestimating anybody. We've been beaten by Northampton last year. We got beat by Burton earlier this year. Rotherham's always an interesting game between Town and Rotherham being a Yorkshire derby. But, you would like to expect us to be, like I said, how many games is in the league there? There's what, eight games is there in the league? I think
1, 2, 3, 4,
7
5,
on
6
there,
in
9 on the
December.
other.
So there's 9. So out of 9 games, I would like us to pick up 6 wins, 5 wins, 6 wins, if we can. I think you have to do that to try and get promoted out of this division. I think you have to go on a bit of a run and put some results together. So out of 9 games, by the end of the year, I'd like us to win 5 or 6 of those, and I think we'll be good. Cardiff away, if we drew to them, that's fine. We've got actually quite a number of away games in that period. Town do tend to play better away from home, so yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be very, very interesting.
It is indeed. Let's turn our attention then to the other side in League One, and Gaz, for Bradford City at the weekend. You were there on Saturday over the hill in Lancashire away at Bolton for that game. A goalless draw, but by all accounts, not a particularly bad goalless draw.
No, and it was a nice, easy trip for me too. It's just half an hour down the road for me. Got picked up and taken by a mate from Skipton Way. And to be honest with you, Chris, it was a really entertaining game for a 0-0 draw, and probably a very good point for us because we've been on a bit of a sticky run lately. I think we're 1 winning 9 now, but only 3 of those have been defeats. The win, unfortunately, was only in the Virtue Motors against Everton under 21, so we have it a bit of a sticky patch. Whereas Bolton were absolutely flying. I think they'd won 5 in a row. The home record was outstanding. The young lad that they've got on loan on the right wing was ripping everybody to shreds, and it was really, really tough ask. It was a fantastic occasion for League One. There were 26,000 there. 5,000 City fans went over, and Bolton obviously sold a lot of tickets as well. First half, I thought Bolton were really good. They had us on the back foot for the majority of that first half. Had quite a lot of possession, quite a lot of shots, although most of those shots, I would say, were from distance, barring a couple that Sam Walker's had to bail us out with. And Bolton probably went in at half-time wondering how they were winning. But the second half, we more than matched them. It was more end-to-end. Bit of a basketball game, as Graham Alexander described it. Chances at both ends, and We maybe, I arguably think we edged that second half, and George Lapsley nearly won it for us at the end. But a point away at Bolton, considering the form of the two teams, he's not to be sniffed at one bit.
No, absolutely. And look, we'll quickly look at the table again. So I think as you see, Bolton, the fact that they are where they are, shows what a good point on the road that certainly could be come the end of the season.
Yeah, like I said, they were on a fantastic run, and we were on a poor run, and obviously their place is always a tough place to go, regardless of where they are in the league. They're one of the bigger clubs in the league, and yeah, it was just a really tough ask given our form. We had a few players who out injured as well. We're starting to slowly get players back now. Baldwin and Sarcevic were both on the bench on Saturday, both came on as subs. Baldwin actually played really well when he came on. Sarcevic, to me, didn't look fully fit when he came on, which was a little bit of a concern. But yeah, to go away to Bolton and pick up a point, it's a really good point. And like I say, it's something that you wouldn't sniff at before. I think now we go into a set of fixtures where we're playing teams who are probably going to be the opposite of Bolton. We've got quite a few games against teams in the bottom half of the division, and it'll be interesting to see how we get on in those, because so far this season we've done better against the sides that have probably the more fancied sides. You know, your Lutons, your Wickhams, your Huddersfields, your Boltons, teams that have wanted to play football, that have wanted the ball, and we've been able to press them, and they've not really known what's hit them at times. And when we've come up against teams that have maybe been a bit more reserved, sat deeper, played it longer, not wanted the ball as much, been more physical, we've struggled. So I'd imagine the run that we're going into now, we'll face some of those. Seems like you brought it up there, Chris. Obviously, Plymouth down at the bottom, Port Vale down at the bottom, Reading struggling, Leyton Orient, I think they're in the bottom half. Wigan around mid-table, Port Vale again in the bottom, near the bottom. So we've got to find a way now. We've picked up a good point at Bolton. We've got to find a way of dealing with these teams that will play differently to how Bolton will play, because it's an opportunity for us looking at that table and those fixtures to start picking up wins and come out of this winless run that we're in.
Yeah, I mean, the game before we hit this, obviously on Saturday, the last game of November for Bradford City, is Exeter at home, which is again another one of those sides that can be difficult to play against, certainly at home. I mean, Christ, I know from a Lincoln perspective that we had them earlier. I think it might have been earlier at the start of either end of last month or start of this month, and we battered them by all accounts. We could have been 3 or 4 up and ended up losing 1-0 to a 94th minute Exeter winner. So it's how the cookie crumbles, and you know how tough these sides and these games can be. So as I say, before this run, even the last game in November doesn't look the most straightforward, even though it possibly should do on paper.
Yeah, especially given, like I say, how we play, Chris, and how we've fared against these teams so far this season. Obviously, like I say, we've done better against the sides that have wanted to play football, and these sides that come and make it difficult for us, we've struggled against. And you would imagine, like you say, it's going to be the same starting on Saturday with Exeter. We've got to find a way of dealing with that. We've got to find a way around this. If we want to stay up there and challenge at the top of this division, we've got to be able to deal with sides that play both ways, and that has to start on Saturday. Hopefully, getting a few players back will help. Like I said, Sarcevic came on as a sub on Saturday. He's a big player for us, even though he didn't look fully fit. He'll have another week's training in before the Exeter game. I thought that Humphreys was outstanding when he came on Saturday. He's had a bit of a mixed start to his spell at City so far. He's sort of not always impressed, sometimes not looked quite right. But when he came on as a sub on Saturday, he was a real threat. And I would like to see the side that finished the game on Saturday, barring probably Lapsley at... Obviously, Lapsley came on for Nerfil at right wing back. I'd like to, obviously, Nerfil needs to play. But other than that, I'd like to see that side start the game on Saturday, because the way we finished the Bolton game, they deserve to carry on Saturday.
I don't want to kind of bring the mood down at all. However, is there any concern amongst the kind of the City fan base for the fact that the January transfer window isn't too far away? And players like, obviously, Josh Nerfil, who've made a great start to their career. Obviously, Bobby Poynton's one that has always been looked at by sides at a higher league and obviously had a pretty good season. Are there any concerns that January and possible departures might derail the season that you've had so far?
Excuse me. I've not heard too many grumblings about it, Chris, so far, to be honest. Obviously, there always is that threat when you've got young players who are doing well. Talking about Nerfil in particular, he started the season fantastically, real threat. There is an argument that we've been found out a little bit with regards to him being the out ball. It's quite often that we look to switch the play from one side to the other when Nerfield's in space, and teams are starting to cut that out a little bit. His form as such,
we noticed exactly that against Lincoln.
Yeah, it is often the out ball, and teams, like I said, have picked up on it. It's one of the things that like I said, that is the argument that we've been found out. That is one of the things, and as such, his form has tailed off a little bit over recent weeks. But on the flip side of that, you talk about the three young. We've got three what you'd call players who I see as assets at the football club, or bigger assets. You've got Nerfield; he's under a 3-year contract, including this season. Jensen Metcalf, 3-year contract, including this season. And Bobby Poyton, 2 years, including this season, with an option for an extra year. So we are protected. The club have done well in investing in those types of players and rewarding them and protecting the value. So if they were to go, or there was to be interest, then we would be handsomely rewarded. But I don't think any of them like I said, we're 1 winning 9, Chris. So over the last few weeks, form's tailed off a little bit anyway. So there's nobody that's really outstanding. And you would be worried about leaving imminently. I am told that there were scouts there watching Metcalf and Nerfield on Saturday, but neither of them were outstanding. Metcalf got hauled off at half-time. Metcalf actually has played in central midfield when he's played this season. He was tried on the right of the front three on Saturday and really struggled, to be honest. So I don't think that's an experiment we'll be trying again. But as you pointed out, when we played Lincoln and when he's played in central midfield in other games this season, he has been really good. So they're the three. But like I said, I'm not too concerned. I don't think anyone's panicking at the moment, mate, to be honest with you.
Well, that's fair enough. Question from Jed. I mean, this for all of us, I guess. Has the international break impacted this league this season? Seems to be a very stop-start season so far. I think it's one of those because you end up in a position, and I think if I just bring up the league table again, where, as you can see, because of the international breaks that we've had, and the fact we've had 3 of them as opposed to the usual 2, there's differences in the amount of games played when you consider obviously the likes of Lincoln, Wickham, Rotherham have all played 17, but then you've got Barnsley and Stevenage there that have only played 14, 3 games in hand because of the international breaks most more than likely. I mean, what do you think, Gaz, down to Browne?
Yeah, I hadn't actually realised till we brought the table up then, Chris, that some teams had played 17. Me and Downesley were chatting before we went live about obviously Huddersfield having a game in hand that they play tomorrow. I thought that we'd played the most or equal most with the teams at 16. I hadn't actually realised that Wickham and Rotherham have played 17. Like you say, you look at that table, Barnsley and Stevenage can both Barnsley can go to 33, is it? And Stevenage can go to 30, 36. So, there is a lot of football to be played. Obviously, some of those games, teams will play against each other, so they'll take points off each other. But at this stage of the season, from really the first international break, this is the case, isn't it? Right through till probably towards the end of the season, because you also get games called off because of the weather in January, February time. So it can be a bit of a higgledy-piggledy table regarding games played right through to the end.
God, imagine if Stevenage won their 3 games in hand and they become the runaway leaders of League One. Nobody would have seen that coming.
I find it interesting that Town played the first international break, and we could have had it off because we have got enough players like Bolker that goes to Southern Arm and Charles that goes to Northern Ireland. So we could have had it off, but we decided to play the game, and I can't remember the result. I think we won, but interestingly enough, in the last 2 international breaks, we've decided. The Luton game was always going to be called off because they had enough anyway. But we decided not to play in the other one, and I find that really interesting. That I don't know whether that's somebody's had a word with Grant and said, "Look, we take the week break and." Because he wasn't in a good moment at that point. Take the week break and use it as a training session and stuff like that, or whether that's just happened by chance. But yeah, I'm not a fan of international breaks, to be honest. I hate the fact it breaks up the season. I hate the fact that whilst I love watching England, I don't love watching them in friendlies against teams that don't really matter in terms of what we want to do in tournaments, or especially in friendlies. So for me,
Played
yeah.
one friendly, haven't we?
No, but we were all already going to qualify. My point is, I think having too many international breaks it does split up momentum. It's probably, I don't know, Gaz, would you say it's not been a good thing for you? I think it's been a good thing for Town. It's probably not been a good thing for Leeds. I don't know, Brownie might say different.
Yeah, I to be honest, after the last one, it was a little bit. It was okay actually. It was like, that's fine. And actually, it was a decent international break, wasn't it, as well, with Ireland and Scotland.
Yeah,
and all
it was
that.
mental.
It was a really good international break. Generally speaking, I hate it though. I'm like, why would it feels like season just starts and then it's like stopping and starting and stopping and starting. And it can mess up your momentum a little bit. And Leeds typically don't do well after an international break. But
It's
yeah,
one of
I
them,
did
I
like it
guess,
this time.
It'll affect obviously Leeds a lot more than it usually will affect the rest of us. Kind of looking at it from a League One perspective, because I'd say with League One, it's quite hit and miss as to how many clubs you come across or that you'd face that will have the right number of internationals for it to be called up anyway, and that sort of thing. So. Yeah,
Where's momentum though? It's momentum in it. That's the thing that stops you. If you're on a winning run, you want to play, don't you?
But as you say, there's pros and cons to it. From the fact that obviously you didn't play maybe that second one because maybe Lee Grant actually looked in and thought, you know what, bit of extra work on my training ground without that fixture might be beneficial. I mean, Jed says for Town still have 31 matches to play. He also says Town are still in that Mickey Mouse Cup against. They are indeed. Yeah, that's next Tuesday night. Is that one? Lincoln Huddersfield in the Virtue Motors Trophy.
What I will say is that having my personal opinion is that having 3 international breaks by mid-November is a bit ridiculous. I think it's it's overkill. I think two was probably too much for me anyway. I can understand why they had 2, but they are talking about combining, aren't they? Is it the October and November one that are going to be combined, or is it the September and the October one? They're on about combining 2 of them, aren't they? And having one less international break.
What will that look like though if they combine 2 international breaks into one? Instead of getting 2 weeks off, we're going to end with a 4-week break.
You'll have 3 weeks off. I imagine countries will play Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday.
Because you still have, because most nations in an international break have 2 fixtures. So if you combine, that's 4 fixtures you need to get in somewhere.
No, I think they'd only have 3. I don't think they'd have 4.
No, they always have 4 though. It's two international breaks is 4 fixtures, though, isn't it? In most cases.
Yeah, I get that. If they're combining them
in November with 2 competitive games in each. The first one was the one where they had the friendly with Senegal.
But if they combine them, there's not a rule to say you have to play 4 fixtures. They might just play 3.
Yeah, but when are you going to play the extra fixture though? Unless
I don't know. I'm not FIFA or UEFA, and I'm certainly not the FA.
Well, there's only two of them. I mean, what was it this time in these 3 breaks? You had 2 qualifiers, 2 friendlies.
No,
it was. You could drop a friendly.
So across the 3 breaks, I think it was 5 qualifiers and 1 friendly for England. Because we had that stinker against Senegal and 5 competitive. That was the only fix. That's the only friendly we've played so far in the Tuchel was the Senegal game.
I know what Downes is saying. You could drop that friendly, but at the end of the day, we all know how much money rules in football and how much FIFA will want to play. I can't see them willingly dropping the game. I think like Chris says, I think they'll still play 4.
I don't just think it's FIFA. I think like your management, your international managers will want the extra fixture.
True.
To be fair, because international managers get so little time with players anyway.
Club sides will not want to be off for 3 weeks. I mean that could. You imagine like you've just got into the season and you get to October, November time, and then you have a 3-week break. I get why some of the players, particularly at lower levels, who don't go away for the nations, will absolutely love it. But for us as fans, for me that just kills it just kills the season.
Your alternative is to keep it as it is.
Well, no, because we don't normally have 3. Like Gaz says, we normally have 2.
No, this is what I mean. Your alternative to combining into a longer break, so getting to October and having 3 or 4 weeks off because of the international fixtures. Your only other alternative is what it is now, which is you get a month into the season, 2 weeks off, another 3 games or whatever in the league, and then 2 weeks off. Like the alternative is what we have now. So it's one. It's going to end up having to be one or the other, isn't it? You can't. The only thing they could have done, I guess, it would have gone September and November maybe, and then have put one in maybe for January. But obviously, because of things like African Cup of Nations and because of domestic league fixture backlog anyway at January, because of, like, for example, the Premier League, the FA Cup starts for Premier League sides and all things like that, is I know that they're not keen on having too many international breaks post-Christmas.
Well, other nations don't do this. Which is it? Is it?
Of course they
Is
do.
it no, but is it something like Argentina? Browne, you might know, because obviously with Bielsa and all that. Isn't it like Argentina only play seven fixtures a year or something daft or so? They don't have like loads of international breaks, do they?
I have no idea.
I'm coming to you as the South
Let me
American
Google it
expert,
quick.
like
Let me Google it quick.
Like Tim Vickery on the BBC. Mate. I was coming to you.
Maybe Jay will know. He'll be on in a minute. He might know.
We've digressed, I will admit, from Bradford here. Before we do move on from Bradford, Gaz, you got any final thoughts for Exeter on Saturday and not about international breaks?
Just what I said previously. I can only reiterate what I said previously, Chris. We know what Exeter are going to come and do. We know how they're going to play. It's not going to be a Bolton. It's not going to be a Town. It's not going to be a Luton or a Wickham. It's going to be a team that comes and makes it difficult for us. And we've got to find a way around that. And it's something that we have struggled to do. Not just this season, but it's something that we've struggled to do in previous seasons as well at Valley Parade, especially. It's one of those where you need an early goal. And if you don't get an early goal, it gets more difficult and more difficult. Like you say, as Lincoln found out when they played them a few weeks ago.
Yeah, absolutely. Brownie?
Yeah, no, I was going to say, I don't know if anyone's seen it tonight, but Idris Agaya for Everton has been sent off because he's basically slapped Michael Keane. So me and a couple of mates, we were chatting, we're thinking like all these players that have like fought their own team members, and obviously you got the classic, you got like Boye versus Dyer, that's the one, isn't it?
Yeah.
There was Lasso versus Batty in the mid-90s. There's been a few flare-ups, hasn't there? And one that a mate of mine...
Gaz knows where this is going.
Well, yeah, a mate of mine reminded me, 2001, Leeds United versus Bradford City. They did finish 6-1 to Leeds, by the way. I should mention that, but I won't say it too loudly for Gaz's sake. And certain
last time you beat us in it, Browne.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Stuart McCall and Andy Myers got into it apparently, and Myers left a headbutt on Stuart McCall, left him looking like this if it'll load up. So a bit of a nasty one there. I'd completely forgotten about that. I'd completely forgotten that. Yeah, it's a that is so that is a season that Bradford went down, I'm guessing, and it was just an absolute chaotic mess at that point, I'm guessing, Gaz.
Yeah, do you know what? I can't remember if I was at that game or not, because I went to a lot of games, obviously, those 2 years were in the Premier League, but I think I only went to one of the ones at Leeds. I have a feeling I might have watched that one on the box, and yeah, it was just when everything were going wrong. Obviously, Richmond had fallen out with Jewell, and Jewell had left, and then Chris Hutchins had come in, had been promoted to manager, and it had all not worked out of him, and then Jim Jeffries had come in, and it would all just really, 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 really bad. And I don't think Andy Myers endeared himself to City fans, because obviously everyone knows how much Stuart McCall is adored at City. So yeah, he didn't help himself there, and didn't help the team, because, like you said, I think we got beat 6-1 that day.
It's there's an incident at Town that happened in 2015. Yeah, 2015, and Martin Patterson and Adam Clayton got into a bit of a fight on the Town training ground, and it all came out in the press. And what was quite funny about it was when Chris Powell became manager, he was directly asked about it in a fans forum, and he just said, "Oh yeah, I'm quite aware that they've had a recent tussle." And then we played Sheffield Wednesday away, and I'm sure we beat them 2-1. And Patterson's, one of them scored. I think it might have been Clayton on a free kick. And what was hilarious was, because they were both on the pitch at the same time, and they'd obviously made up, the celebration was the other player pretending to punch the opponent. So like I think it might have been Martin Patterson starting on Clates in training, and by just say for instance, and the celebration was then Clayton getting his own back on Martin Patterson in the celebration. It was hilarious at the time. If social media was as big back then as what it is now, it'd have absolutely blown up. But
do any of you guys remember the Isle Berkovich John Hartson one in training?
Yeah, training. Oh, that were brutal, wasn't it? That kick
absolutely leathered him, didn't he?
Oh my god, yeah, it was something else that one. Yeah, that would.
Remember footage going around as like, Jesus,
yeah.
He didn't knock it out.
But on there was obviously I think we all kind of do watch another podcast with ex professional footballers that recently had Jermaine Beckford on, and Beckford was at the club at the time when the Patterson Clayton one happened, and he said, naming no names, but any town fan watching that knew exactly what he was on about.
If you're tuning in and you've got any favourite teammate scraps, let us know in the comments, and and we can touch on that. What your favourite bust ups with teammates going rogue? Let us know in the comments. We will
I blow up with Jay I blow up with Jay every week on a Thursday night. So.
I mean, yeah, you and Jay at five-a-side kicking off. I can well imagine that. Actually, imagine that. We will bring Jay in just a second or two. He is almost ready to join us, I think, before we start talking Leeds United. Quick update on the United-Everton game. Still 1-0 to Everton with about 25 minutes still to go. I mean, Browne actually on that, to be fair. Look, start of the season, you were looking at Everton as possibly being one of the sides that might be at the bottom end of the table. As it is, they'll leapfrog Liverpool if they hang on for a win against Man United tonight.
I know. Watching a bit of it at Man United, just useless. I mean, that man advantage, you expect him to push on and do something. It seemed like typical Everton.
It's that cliche, though, isn't it? It's that cliche that sometimes it's hard to play against 10 and 11 and all that malarkey.
Yeah, no, it's true. And it's, they weren't particularly smart about it. They were trying to be quick and get balls up top instead of just, being a bit more patient. But, oh well, it's like, go on, Everton.
Surely Man United losing, Browne, he puts a smile on your face.
That's what I mean. Exactly. Come on, Everton.
I'm going to say you'd probably expect United to be down there as well, wouldn't you, at start of season anyway?
Yeah.
Then more Everton.
Exactly.
I just feel for
Liverpool
that feel for that Man United fan waiting for a haircut, because this looked like United might be on the start of a decent little run where we might actually be able to get a trim, and if this goes tits up, it has to start all over again.
If I were him, I'd give up now. Give up the ghost. Just get your hair cut, lad.
It's made him famous. He's not going to do that.
That's made him very, very
I know,
famous.
but there's a difference between being famous and then, like, can you imagine the weight of his hair already?
The guy's making a fortune, mate.
I know.
Just wait for him to be like racking up the sponsorships from Head and Shoulders and the adverts from L'Oreal Paris and all that malarkey. He's never going to be able to get his haircut at this rate.
He has to do it like, Rodney Marsh when he got his head shaved at Valley Parade. They'll have to do that with him at Old Trafford. Do you know what I mean? Sit him in centre square when they've done it. And
can you imagine Joe Hart coming on and rubbing Head and Shoulders on his hair and then it just being whipped off?
Let's move on from this. Let's turn our attention then to Leeds United. Did I say Jayson Boocker has joined us for this?
Night all. I've enjoyed it tonight. See you later, guys.
See you, mate.
That's tag. You're it now, Jay. I mean, look. To be fair, we'll keep Gaz around for this relegation chat for the Premier League as well, with Liverpool stinking the place out. So,
hey, us Lincoln Town, Leeds, and Liverpool all in Championship next season.
I'm happy to stay on too. This is the bit of the podcast I'm going to enjoy. So
this is actually your main team, isn't it, this week, Villa?
No.
Of course it is.
No.
You were more excited about Villa beating Leeds than you were
Jay, no, I wasn't. It just improved the brightness of the Sunday afternoon gloom.
Behave yourself, little Tim.
Yeah,
there we go.
Yeah. Behave yourself. Don't make me Idrissa Gana gay, you. Okay.
What, when you live at the other side of Bradford? I don't think
Little
so.
bitch slap on Thursday night.
This is Downesy next five-a-side. You'll have to have.
Thursday.
The thing is, I won't see it coming, so it's fine.
Right, Leeds United. Obviously, you've done both done a bit of content off the back of the weekend's result. Obviously, the 2-1 defeat at home to Villa. Leeds fans, you can go and check that out on the channel. Some of the content that's already been created by Browne and Jay. Browne, we'll start with you since you've been here from the off, mate. I mean, talk us through it. You mentioned earlier on, or towards the start, that you are in a bit of a football depression at the moment. Yeah, discuss.
Yeah,
safe space, Brownie. Safe space.
Yeah. Well, I went to the match and it was weird because obviously it was absolutely thrashing it down. I knew that was coming. But yeah, it was a bit of a subdued atmosphere. It was weird actually. It was like, I don't know. It felt like we were waiting to see what team turned up, and a couple of minutes in, you could tell the boys were up for it and aggressive, get the goal, and Ellen Road took off a little bit, and it was a good atmosphere. But and at half time, I'm sat there, I've got my loaded fries, loving life, 1-0 up in the Premier League, everything's going great, and then it was weird because second half, when people like coming back to the seats, and it's like it don't feel like the second half's properly kicked off yet because people are still kind of milling about. And then Villa scored. Apparently Farke didn't come back for the first couple of minutes either. He was like behind, getting out.
You were getting some loaded chips and all.
Yeah, it might be. Yeah, he'd seen mine and thought, oh.
Biggest
what did you have on him?
For Leeds, it seems, is the bloody time it takes to get served in the kiosks. So the sounds of it, crikey, that sounds like the real problems of Ellen Road.
Yeah, it's a long time.
Brownie, where were Bovril, mate? Come on, you're not this pot.
Yeah, come on, pie peas and a Bovril.
I know, I'm upgraded now, mate. Loaded fries, come on. But yeah, second half, they've got the quality, a couple of bits of magic, whatever way you want to look at it, and we get undone. And it's difficult to know where we go next or what happens next. It feels like it's one-way traffic in terms of how Farke, the way things are going for Farke at the minute. Me and Jay touched on it last night. It's a bit of everything. I think a lot of fans, Farke, and we've said it, ad nauseum on here. A lot of fans were always kind of looking to kind of beat Farke with a stick, and every bad result, it just builds. And I think in the atmosphere yesterday, I mean, fans there were a portion of fans full time singing, "You don't know what you're doing." Now, that was a close game yesterday. That was a really tight game, and we deserved something out of it. That's not a "you don't know what you're doing," kind of situation. But that's where that narrative is now, and for me, it's only heading in one direction. Question is, do you just do it now and get it done, get someone else in, and try and change the mood somewhat, or apparently he's going to get the block of games, these tricky fixtures coming up. Can he pull a rabbit out of the hat? Can something happen? We don't seem to get any luck on the pitch either. And yeah, it's not looking good. It's not looking good, but I certainly don't lie all the blame at Farke's door. He's culpable, but I think there's bigger questions now that a lot of fans are realising, and that's the 49ers and the recruitment and where we were in the summer. Were we engaged enough this summer? I mean, we don't know. Parag Marate's got everything going on at Rangers. They were doing a takeover of Rangers in the summer, and you think, you look, they're going to have separate divisions. It's not like they can't handle two things at once. But I don't know. You just wonder where the attention's been, because for me, we needed to hire a top class director of football in the summer. I think that's what Sunderland have done, and I think that's what we should have done. I'm kind of gobsmacked we didn't. We lost Nick Hammond, vastly experienced, really connected, led our recruitment in the Championship that was really, really solid and got the job done. And then this summer, we just seem to have kind of handed the keys to people that have never been in these positions before in the Premier League, and kind of gone, well, there you go. And it's I don't know. I think there's a deeper reason as to why we find ourselves here. So yeah, where do you start?
There seems to be some similarities though with this the 49ers owned club situation, because obviously Rangers appointed a manager that was less than popular in Russell Martin, didn't work out. The recruitment is heavily come to blame for Rangers, obviously under the 49ers in their short tenure so far there, to the point which has led for the CEO, Patrick Stewart, today, and the sporting director, Kevin Thirlwell, head of recruitment, to be sacked. I mean, the summer and recruitment was not good for 49ers in more ways that were like in both clubs, to be fair.
Yeah, well, don't forget as well, they were there for the last relegation. It's not like they came into Leeds cold completely. They were there. They were the partners when Leeds were in the Premier League last. They saw firsthand what happens and how difficult it can be and how spot on you have to be with everything. So I'm not kind of buying this. Well, you know, they're fresh to it and everything like that. They were there. They were in the background. They said they learnt their lessons from that. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's serious problems. I mean, look, you know, we haven't kept a clean sheet since the Newcastle game. I was surprised at that. I was like, surely we've had a clean sheet since the Newcastle game. We've not, and we're the second lowest scorers in the league. So it's, you know, problems.
Jay, let me come to the straight talking Leeds fan himself. And I mean, what's your kind of take from Saturday and the kind of the situation we're now with the fan base? I mean, Christ, just going to touch on this as well. This moron that found himself yards away from Farke's dugout on Sunday, and the fan base is all over the shop. But are we still looking at, you know, a lot of it is being overreactive, or is it starting to become more and more understandable gradually as time goes on?
I personally think the fan base is in the worst state it's ever been in. And that's pretty drastic thing for me to say, but Browne, I don't know if you agree with me or not. I've seen relegation from the Premier League. I've seen relegation from the Championship. I've seen League One playoff heartache. I've seen League One minus 15 points. The fan base has never been more negative and toxic than it is right now. And I find it puzzling. I come and sit with Brownie on every show that we do, and I try and have a bit of realism attached to it, a honesty, perception. You know, perspective is probably the best word. Perspective on the situation that we find ourselves in as a newly promoted club. The performances that I see outside of the 2 away games that we've done to death now have been good. We've competed against the likes of Spurs and Villa at home, and yes, we've lost, but we've played really well. You know, everybody that watched yesterday's game, I think, would agree that we're probably good value for at least a point. You know, on another day we win that game. We just don't have the quality. We don't have the quality. That's the truth of the matter. This team is capable of absolute maximum right now, I think, finishing 17th. And the fan base have got in their heads this illusions of grandeur that we're capable of finishing. Some people think this team's good enough to finish mid-table. It's mental. And the more and more I see the social media world piling on, it's then bleeding into Ellen Road. The abuse that Brendan Aronson got yesterday, the abuse that Daniel Farke got yesterday, it's abhorrent. It's disgusting. And we are creating part of the downfall. The 49ers are to blame. The players are to blame for not being good enough. You know, they're putting the effort in. You can't expect anything else. Daniel Farke is culpable in parts as well. But the fan base are culpable too. Because I totally and utterly believe right now that the fan base could be driving the ball over the line a little bit more if we were right behind the manager. If this were Marcelo Bielsa season 1, and we didn't finish 9th, and we were in this position right now, the fan base would not be behaving like this. No. Even take away how exciting and beautiful the football used to be. I get that makes a part of it as well. But the football isn't anywhere near as bad as people are trying to make out it is. So, you know, I find myself in a real state of frustration because I'm trying to enjoy this season as much as I can. I was well aware of before a ball was kicked that it was going to look a lot like this. It's meeting my expectations, but it is being soured by I don't know if it is the majority. I think it's going to start becoming the majority because the negative noise travels fast and it travels quick. And in Ellen Road, it can become toxic real quick. You know, it doesn't take much for a few people around you to say, oh, fuck this, fuck that, and then before you know it, they're joining in on the bandwagon as well. I think it's inevitable he gets sacked, and I've said to Brownie, I think he'll probably go after the Man City game. But for me, it doesn't. I don't think it answers us all the questions that some fans think it will.
No, I mean, I've got to say, I don't ever remember us as a fan base treating a player like Brendan Aronson's getting at the minute, where I honestly can't remember it, because I mean the thing about Leeds is we've always really taken to players that work the socks off, give 110%, might not always be technically the best or whatever, but we've always kind of really kind of rated those kind of players. You know, if you look at any point in our history, that's the type of player we've always loved. And I think this Aronson thing now, for me, I think he should pull him out of the squad, because, or the starting 11, because I think this is just such a lightning rod. I mean, I'm watching at the weekend, two wingers, and if you're objective, and I think, you know, you'll see a lot of kind of the reporting on the game said Aronson was decent, particularly first half. It was. But you're looking at the other side. I'm looking at Okafor, who gave the ball away. You know, I mean, I can't count how many times he gave the ball away, and just it amounted to nothing. And it was almost like they were watching the wrong winger or something. You know, it was like they were slating the wrong winger. It was, and don't want Okafor to get that level of criticism either. But I'm just saying it's bizarre. And you know, the last home game, he was getting a round of applause. You know, he's getting a standing ovation after a man of the match performance against West Ham, and now it's like he was getting mocked. Crowd were mocking him. You know, with the subs, waiting for him to get subbed. It's a level that's just, I don't get it. I don't get it.
Him and Farke are in the same level of kind of fan detest in certain parts. It doesn't matter what they do, and he's toxic. It creates a real hostile problem. You know, Brendan Aronson's played 100 times for Leeds United. Like, this ain't a player that's just come, been crap, and then been bombed out. And, you know, sure, he's gone out on loan and come back. I think that makes a massive part. I think the fact that he's American, the fact that he was a little bit lightweight. I mean, he's still lightweight, but he doesn't throw himself over like he did season 1. We remember watching him in season 1. He threw himself over too much. He wasn't mentally able to deal with the fact that he was slight. Now he is. He works bloody hard. And you're absolutely right. He's far less culpable than somebody like Noah Okafor yesterday. And there were others. There were, you know, Gabby Goodmunson gets absolute rave reports, and I love him going forward. He's been culpable for 6 out of our last 8 goals. People are still talking about him as if he's like the dream boy, the star boy. Lucas Perry, and I know it's starting to come to Lucas Perry's door as well. And I don't want to make it personal about the individual players, but Lucas Perry, you know, he's not shown anything above Emilio Caldalo so far. Where's the real criticism for him? He should have saved that free kick yesterday. You know, the instant reaction of people was, oh, it's a beauty. It's not. It's actually a bang average free kick that's on target. Chris, I'm not having it. It's a bang average free kick that's on target. He does well to get it on target because of how close he was to the wall, how close the free kick was positioned to the edge of the box. That's it. Go and watch the free kick again. Go on Twitter and watch it.
I did earlier.
From behind the goal.
I'll be interested to see. I don't know if you've seen Joe Hart's take on it, but he was on Match of the Day 2 last night, and he did a piece on Perry's positioning and what he would be expecting as a goalkeeper, and he's fully behind Perry on that. That it's not
goalkeepers union.
Goalkeepers union nonsense. Lucas Perry's actually falling backwards into the goal if you watch it. He's actually like on. He don't even move, Chris. It's literally it's there. It's a goalkeeper error. I'm not having it. I'm not. Nick Pope saves that. I always compare it against Nick Pope because Nick Pope kept Burnley in the Premier League almost single-handedly for like 3 years under Sean Dyche. He saves that, and that's the kind of keeper that you need when you're down at the bottom. I believe Sam Johnson saves that as well, who was a bang average Premier League keeper. So anyway, this isn't about Lucas Perry. It's about the objectivity of the fans and how negative it's actually creating, and it's creating a problem. I am actually quite content as a Leeds fan. I'm coming on here angry and irritated by what's happening because of the reaction more than the position that we find ourselves in. We're a recently promoted club. This is what we should have expected for it to look a lot like this. The performances are good. Tell me the performances are good.
Well, I mean, the only thing you can say is obviously the disparity of the previous 2 away performances, but I take your point. You can't look at just 2 performances out of 12. You know, it's been 12 performances and there's only been 2 all right, Arsenal, but you know, whatever. That's Arsenal. Do you know what I mean? We have been competitive. We've been at it. It was back to that level, I thought, against Aston Villa. It's like I say, it's just, you know, there's a quality issue. You know, there's a quality issue. You know, I saw it time and time again where we'd get the ball so far up the pitch and we haven't got any midfielders that are making runs and offering themselves. It's very rigid, but that's what we bought. That's what we've recruited. That's what that midfield is. There is no magic in that midfield. There's nothing. You know, nobody can turn the game.
I want to let the lads come in because I know they've got stuff to ask, right? But you just hark back to West Ham a few weeks ago, right? And we were having this conversation in the run up to the West Ham game. I was saying nearly 1-11 we'd swap our team with West Ham, and we went and beat West Ham that day. They were in bad form, but whatever. We went. You look at the quality difference that they've been able to display over the most recent weeks, and you're seeing exactly what me and you were talking about, Browne. You know, the likes of Somerville, the likes of Paqueta, and these are the teams that we're having to replace. There's still a landslide in front of us. And I know Downes had disagreed at the time. You're seeing it. You're now seeing this come to life in front of your very eyes. The likes of Forest and West Ham, who were the teams that we were looking to potentially replace, the literally the quality of ability on the pitch, especially in the starting 11, is night and day. And we're having to bridge that gap every single time we face whoever, you know? So...
Downes?
Yeah, just a number of things, really. I mean, personally, just 2 quick ones to start with. I don't think West Ham are a very good team, but I know I understand what Jay's saying, but I really don't think the standard of quality of that team is far superior to Leeds. I think Browne makes a good point where, and I said it a couple of weeks ago, all your midfielders are the same. They do the same exact job. They're very good at the job in terms of, like, you know, getting the ball, being solid, stack, long staff. You know, they'll sort of like do that all day, recycle the ball and be pretty solid. I don't think Leeds will take many beatings this season. I think you'll lose games very closely, like you did at the weekend. I mean, I watched the Leeds stream, and like Jay said, you know, if it went off Calvert-Lewin's belly button instead of his hand, it's 2-2, and I don't think anybody would have batted an eyelid about Leeds getting a draw in that game. I watched it, and as much as I really loved the fact that it's his hand, I did say in the chat, and I'll be quite happy to say this in front of any other Town fan, Leeds deserved to draw that game on Saturday, because I didn't think Villa were very good in the first half. I know me and Jay slightly disagreed in the chat about why Villa weren't good, but I don't think Villa were very good. But I did think Leeds were really good in the first half, and you just didn't build on it in the second half. I don't understand the criticism of somebody like Aronson, because from what I see, all right, he might not be your most quality player, but he works his heart out in every game that I've watched. A lot like I think for Dan James. I think Dan James works really hard. All right, again, he probably doesn't have the quality that you need to stay up. But I just wondered, like, at what point? So Jay, you were saying that if you lose to City, you think Farke's gone. I still don't see anybody in the managerial market that is realistically going to come into Leeds United and do a better job than Daniel Farke. I mean, I quite like Gary O'Neill, but I don't think he'd do a better job than what Daniel Farke's doing right now, because they haven't got. He'd have the same tools to work with, yeah. And I know we've disagreed over the season so far about the centre forward. I still think, you know, I know Nemecha scored a couple of goals now, but I still don't see him as that real quality centre forward like the lad at Wolves in what's his name? Is it Larson? Sorry. You know, I don't see Nemecha scoring loads and loads of goals, and I certainly don't see Calvert-Lewin scoring loads of goals. I mean, what I would say is,
Nemecha, three goals in 300 minutes.
Oh, yeah, it's good. It's good, Browne. So my two questions really, because I know guys will have some. One is, if Farke's sacked after the Man City game, does that make you more likely to stay up or less likely? And second thing is, as it stands, you keep saying that in January, because of PSR, you're not going to bring anybody in, or you're unlikely to spend quite a lot of money. I think your biggest problem is not just quality in the first team, but the lads that you're bringing off the bench are not making a difference. And I think that showed on Sunday, against Villa. I'd just like your opinion on both those questions, really.
I think the Farke situation, my personal opinion, I don't think that this gets any better for a change of manager. The problem that I think that we've now got is that the fan base are too deep into it as a whole, that the reset of a new manager might create a lift within the fan base, which I think is inherently a problem. My flip side to that would be the fan base thing. And I seen comments, I think it was from James a minute ago, with regards to names of managers further up. We're not getting them type of managers, even if they were free. You know, Moyes, Nuno, Sean Dyche, they weren't coming to Leeds, even if the job was vacant earlier on this season. If we'd have got to Sean Dyche before Forest, as an example, I think Sean Dyche turns us down. I genuinely do. Like, he would look at this. Yeah, I think he'd look at this squad and think, well, my credibility is a little bit higher than that right now. I'm probably going to get relegated. I'm going to wait for another job to come up that's got a little bit more attached to it. You know, these people talk. The football world is very connected. He would have already been kind of touted by Marinakis if it had have gone south with them, and that would have been dealt with a few weeks before. So, you know, for me, I don't think we're established enough to get them names. I think right now Gary O'Neill would be right at the top. I think the lad, the guy from, I forget his name, misses me now, but
Rodgers.
No, Rodgers would be one, but the guy, Michael Rose in the Red Bull network. I think Bo Svensson's come out and been the name that's kind of been mentioned a bit, but it wouldn't be the name that Leeds fans think it would. And we would employ them. Let's say we go after the Man City game. We lose to Chelsea and Liverpool at home, right? The fans will already be on their back.
Yeah.
And
the problem is, sorry, mate. The problem is, you know, if it's an appointment that the fans are 100% behind, how long before this narrative spins out of control and you get into Farke part 2? Do you know what I mean? You know that's literally what, you know. For example, if you get Brendan Rodgers in, there's going to be a lot of fans that would just not like that, me included probably. But you know, it's already starting on the back foot. But then your responsibility as an ownership group, you know, you've got to pick who you want to pick, and you've got to have your reasons for doing it, and you've got to back yourself. But some of these names that are getting banded around, I'm seeing Motta, Cesc Fabregas. They're not going to touch it with a barge pole. They're not going to touch
Fabregas.
They're not going to touch you with a barge pole.
He's done a great job down there at Como. He's doing a great job. But why would he come?
No. I'm not saying he's not done a good job.
They're not going to touch Leeds.
He's not going to come to Leeds. That's my point. I'm agreeing with you.
I think what it is, because we're in the Premier League. I think some fans think that automatically means you can get some top, you know, European coach. But I mean, nah.
That's why you ended up with Sam Allardyce.
Browne, the fan base right now are not happy with a manager that's achieved 190 points over 2 championship seasons. Record-breaking manager, dominating week after week after week. They're not happy with him. So the problem is the narrative was already set 2.5 years ago that it was crap in the Premier League. All the media's been saying it, fans been saying it. And before you know it, it's bled into the Leeds United fan base. This was already set. This was always going to happen with Daniel Farke. I feel sorry for him because he's got some limitations. He's got some problems. He's not perfect, but he's also a manager of a team that's quality bottom 3. So you don't get a Jurgen Klopp. You don't get whoever. You know, I would argue that Jurgen Klopp would struggle to keep this team up. I swear to you, I would. I'd argue that. I would. I reckon Jurgen Klopp sees his team finish 16th. I'm being dead.
And what about question 2 then about the depth and not being able to bring anybody in January for PSR? I mean, do you guys know more about whether that's possible? I seem to think from what I hear and listen to on various channels and whatever that the money's not there.
I don't trust the board to get it right anyway. I mean, the recruitment in the Championship has been, the majority of it's been good. Well, actually, no, I'm being harsh. It's all been good. But in the Premier League at the minute, it's looking like under this new recruitment team, it's a problem. The new PSR rules, I don't know whether that's going to change their outlook. I'd be flabbergasted if this ownership would be happy with anything other than solidifying the Premier League. They need it for the shares, for the money, the way that their business model works needs Premier League. The stadium, the new stadium needs Premier League football. So they can't have us going up and down. But I don't know. I genuinely think that they think that this team is good enough to stay up.
Surely not, though. Surely by January. And the fact that
you've got to get
this next run out of the way, surely to Christ, they've got to get to the end of December and realise that this squad is in no way, shape, or form enough to stay up. And
I don't know how they thought that in the summer. I don't know how they thought that. I don't know how, when the manager, Daniel Farke, said, I need more attacking recruitment. But he said it. He said the manager said it, and we just, whatever happened, and this fault, that fault, we didn't get it done.
The crazy thing is we're not far off it, Browne. We're not far off it, are we? We are one or two bits of quality or creative of turning these games that are super tight into wins. I know we all kind of undernard as to whether Harry Wilson would have been the man that would have made the difference. He's actually gone on to have a brilliant season so far this year, smashing it in for Wales as well. He would have made such a difference. He really would. So anyway.
But in terms of if they're going to do anything in January, I mean, so I'm with Jay though. I don't trust this recruitment team so far from what we've seen. Adam Underwood. I don't know. I don't know. I really don't know.
Gaz were nodding along nicely a minute ago when I was eulogising about Farke and his the premeditated kind of take we're gonna get. I'll just be interested to know your take.
1,000%. You're 1,000% right. And I would honestly, I would come on here and say that you're wrong if I thought you were wrong. But I think that what you said about Farke is absolutely bang on. This was always going to happen. This was happening. Basically, what you and Downesy have said in the chat there, I couldn't have put it any better myself. I think that the expectations are far too high. What the Leeds fans expect going into the Premier League with this squad. Daniel Farke came out at the start of the season and basically said he wasn't happy with the recruitment, didn't he? Not in as many words, but that is basically what he was getting at.
No, yeah.
We're covering things that we covered a couple of weeks ago, and Downsy's covered it there. I don't think there's a manager out there. We talked about it in this group chat at the weekend. I don't think there's a manager out there that comes in and does any better with that squad. I don't think that it's down. I don't think a large part of it is Daniel Farke's fault. I think the narrative was there. Like you said, that was absolutely bang on 2 years ago whenever he was appointed, that it was there then. And I just don't know what. I don't know what realistically Leeds fans expect any better. How? You've just got to... And I just totally agree with what you've both just said. I really do.
Guys, I've seen fans over the last few days say that Daniel Farke he's now got a lower points per game total than Jesse Marsh, and they've started rewriting that Jesse Marsh is better than Daniel Farke for a start, which is a nonsense. What? And that we had a worse team under Marsh than we do now. We had Tyler Adams, Weston McKennie, Lewis Inistera, Cree Somerville, Bamford, a much better position than he is now, and probably better than what Calvert-Lewin is now. That team had Mark Rocker. We actually had some good players within that team. You know what I mean? We let Dan James go out on loan because he couldn't get in. Gio Rutter joined in January. I mean, it's not the narrative around Farker.
And that were our third year. That were our third year in the Premier League. At that point. So we had that. Yeah, we were established.
Yeah, it's a nonsense. It's a nonsense.
Can I bring up one more point? I think they've chewed off more than they can do this ownership, but by owning both Leeds and Rangers. And I know that they'll have different people to look after each club, but you're talking about two absolutely ginormous clubs with absolutely massive expectations. Rangers are expected to win the SPFL every year. They're expected to win the cup. They're expected to be in the Champions League. That's just what Rangers are. And Leeds fans are expected to be in the Premier League and to be doing well in the Premier League. Now, what well looks like, we can all sit here and talk to the cows come home. But that's what Leeds fans have expected. Browne has talked about it in previous streams about when he was younger, watching that Leeds side play really well in Europe and being up in around the top four. So I just think I just think they've chewed off more than they can handle. I don't think that they've made an absolute mess of Rangers. Like, Rangers are an absolute basket case of a football club right now, and they're not handling things well at Leeds. And to be honest, if it continues to go the way it is, you'll have. But I mean, earlier this year, you had Rangers fans outside the stadium at Livingston or whatever, waiting for Russell Martin to come out the ground. And I know that we all condemn that and whatever else.
Well,
but I'm telling you now, the way Leeds fans are, I'm not saying that all Leeds fans. I'm not telling me, but the way that the fan base is exploding and the way that Jay's talked about it, and I think Jay's actually really spot on. I know we disagree quite a lot, but I actually think he's spot on with it. I just don't think this ownership can handle both football clubs at the same time.
Let's just be honest as well. Like, what's the real difference between waiting outside the ground for Russell Martin and what we saw on Saturday with this fella?
Well, yeah, true. Yeah,
no, you've got right, Chris. You've got a point. I mean, I don't completely agree with you there, Downes. Bring us back, Chris, because it does me. I can't say. I personally don't agree in terms of the like they can't handle the both clubs. But they're not struggling to deal with Leeds United because of what they've got going on with Rangers. They're totally different kind of people. And let's be fair, the 49ers have several businesses. So just adding Rangers to the portfolio isn't going to then be like, oh, Azai's are now off the ball at Leeds United. You know what I mean? Like, I know Parag Marathi is linked to the two, but Parag Marathi got his people to do his job at Leeds and he's got the people to do the job at Rangers. Now, are they fit to run the football club effectively as a Premier League owner? That's a different question. I don't think it's got anything to do with the Rangers situation. Have they employed the right people to do the work for them at Leeds United? Adam Underwood, Robbie Elliott, and the others. The answer to that question probably is no. That's a slightly different point. Do you get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah. No, I get you. But Browne did bring it up earlier in the podcast about Rangers and the fact that, in the summer, it's without any doubt that at both clubs made an absolute Horlicks of the summer. And I agree, Jay, it's probably because they haven't got the right people in charge. But I think that comes down to the fact that they know that there's so much pressure at both football clubs to get it right. They're just kettles waiting to go off.
I think we've got to be careful as well, though, right? Because I am criticising the recruitment team for the poor recruitment. I'm also then understanding of the fact that we're a recently promoted championship club, now in our fourth year in the Premier League out of the last 20 odd. Yeah. Has our recruitment been any worse than Burnley's? No. It's not. This summer, it's not. I can answer you the question. Kyle Walker aside, maybe, but even that he's stretching. He's ancient. Yeah, like their recruitment's not been better than ours, Chris. It's not. It's not. Like, come
No,
on.
it's not. No, I agree with Jay.
It's not. Martin Dubravka, you know, like Ukachukwu in the midfield, I think is all right. You know, they bought Jadon Anthony on a permanent. Come on, let's not do this. Like, it's not better than Leeds is, right? So, and was Ipswich's better than ours last season? Was Leicester's better than ours? Was Southampton's better than ours? No, to all three of them. Yeah. Sunderland's is better. We know the PSR situation, and we know the board of director, don't we, there, Browne? The head of recruitment, guy that came in from Roma, knows exactly what he's doing. They've nailed it, right? By the looks of it, they've absolutely nailed it. But at the same time that we're criticising the 49ers, we've got to say some of these players that we would have wanted to bring in that would have improved us drastically have probably gone to Brighton. They've probably gone to Villa. They've probably gone, you know, Buonanotte was pretty much in the door and went to Chelsea on loan at the last minute. You know, we have to be fair with where we are in the pecking order this season. You know,
and that all comes back to what you're saying about realistic expectations again, because when you take all this into account, then what is the realistic expectation this season?
Exactly.
That's another thing that,
Brownie, what's your view on the whole?
I've said a lot.
Point that I've said about Rangers, like I think it's a valid point, but I do get what Jay's saying.
Well, this is the thing is we don't know how it's split up, how the duties are split up, or whatever. There were a couple of things that I thought were strange that happened. Was the fact that we were losing our chief executive Angus Kinnear and Nick Hammond, and those guys have basically run the show, you know, and you know that transitional period from the last ownership to the new ownership, they were the ones that were doing it. And you know, you're going into the Premier League, you're at the precipice of achieving what the investment group what they want, and it feels like at that point, all of a sudden, they're purchasing another club. And I agree with Jay. Look, they hire people to sort things out. It's not like, you know, Parag's, you know, trying to like manage Leeds and Rangers at the same time. It don't work. We know it don't work like that, but perception's powerful, and a lot of Leeds fans will, you know, did call it. And perception, you know, how things look can be important too. And then suddenly we've done these internal appointments to these key roles. And I don't know. There's kind of a strange. You know, the problem is really, and I've thought this before, because we know what the plan is with the 49ers. It's to buy Leeds, establish them in the Premier League, and then sell them, having made X amount on their investment. I think if you look at Tony Bloom at Brighton, he loves the club. He's investing in the club. He wants to grow the club. It's not an investment opportunity where he's going to sell it on. I think you look at the guy at Sunderland, I think it's similar there. It's not just an investment. You know, you look at Brentford's owner, you look at, you know, who else? I mean, Aston Villa's owners, you know, for example, they see it as the end, that they're at their end point owning the club and they want to grow it. I do think there's a serious question has to be asked about the stewardship of Leeds and ultimately this idea that, just, you know, right, invest, Premier League, see you later. I mean, it was always going to be a rockier road than that. But, you know, the investor plans that came out in the summer, you know, they hinted that the 120 million they put in the summer was the last big investment they were going to put in. Well, what? How are you going to establish yourself in the Premier League if that's your last big investment you're going to put in?
How are they going to sort the stadium if that's the last big investment?
Well, that was part of it. That was part of this 120 million. But it's I don't know. I do worry about the leadership from the top in terms of, you know, it feels very transactional and a bit kind of, you know, we're just doing this to get to point B. And I don't know. I think maybe you need a little bit more heart in it. Maybe you need a bit more drive. I don't know. I mean, look, these are the bloody black holes I end up going down when we're sat in the position we are.
Because Brighton fans feel like Tony Bloom's slightly less interested in them now because of the increased investment in Hearts and that sort of thing now as well.
Let's be fair as well. They have made other mistakes throughout the journey, and ownerships are going to always make mistakes. I get that, but they could have taken us up in season 1 of the Championship if they'd have done January right that year. We'd have finished in the top 2. We'd have beaten Ipswich to the 2nd spot, but we didn't. We dilly-dallied around. We got Connor Robertson on deadline day on loan, and that were it. And we were short of a couple of players in the Championship in that first season, and that then meant that we had to have a full second season in the the Championship, and then we all knew we lost Chris Somerville, we lost Jorginho Rutter, we lost Archie Gray. Now, people will lay that at the door of the manager because that's how fans look at football. The biggest act of responsibility is Daniel Farke and Daniel Farke alone, and that's it. Like the ownership were culpable in that first season as well. I mean, bear in mind everything that Daniel Farke had to deal with in the summer of that season. You know, and I've said this time and time and time again. Like, I am not here just fighting Daniel Farke's corner because I like the guy. I just think he's our best route to survival this season. I think I could be wrong. I hope I am wrong because I think he's going to go. But you know, if somebody can come along that does a better job, I'm all for it. But the reality, the real stark reality of this situation, when Daniel Farke gets sacked, the streams will pop up, the Sky Sports News will start banging, and we will see them names pop up, and fans will go, "Oh shit." That's what'll happen. I'm telling you. I can't wait because I do like so.
on a small microcosm. I have seen it at town where the social media element then seeps into the match day atmosphere, and obviously with our spiral of how things have gone over the last 6 years, you get to see how that it's not like a quick thing either. It seeps in slowly, but when it's there. I just remember like losing 4-0 to Swansea, and the absolute rage and apathy within that 90 minutes was unbearable. And it's just that's when it A goes too far, and B that's when it becomes sad. Because like you said, Jay, you just want to enjoy the season, and I don't think you're going to be able to. I'll be honest.
Well, you make a great point. I mean, the coming off social media thing is something that I toy with all the time. I get sucked back into it because I care so much and I like talking about it so much. So then I like to know what people are saying. So we've got context to stuff to talk about. But, you know, the reality that I would be living right now if I didn't check Twitter and check other people's content would be very much a case of this is, you know, a grind, but I'm in it. You know, if we could go back 30 years before social media, I truly believe that Ellen Road would be ferocious if this situation was the same. But the social media is so powerful now that it does drag the opinion in a certain direction, which is why I come on and talk with such passion to try and just bring anybody back the other way, because I think it's damaging. I genuinely think it's damaging what we're doing.
What did you make?
That's sorry, Browne. That's how Michael Duff got sacked last year because of social media. Basically, that's what killed him.
I can believe it. What were we going to say, Browne?
Well, I'm going to say, what did you make of? Because Farke's come out in you know about Aronson saying that it's affecting the players in the changing room because they feel it's unfair the stick that he's going, and he's kind of made reference to we talk about mental health, and then this guy's getting basically abused. And it's has he got a point there? And when it's starting to bleed over into the changing room, the dressing room, I mean, that's dangerous territory, is that? Because that's directly impacting performances.
The problem that he's given himself with this is he's given himself another stick to be beaten with. He's given himself another lightning rod. Now fans are using that. Oh, can you believe he's brought up mental health to deflect from the fact that Brendan Aronson's a crap footballer? Like, that's not what he's saying, but that's the narrative that these people want to spin. I think he's 100% correct. And I think societally, this is deep, and I could go on and on and on talking about it all night. But this is the problem with society now. This is the way that we talk. We want to have a men's mental health month for the month of November. Yet then we want to absolutely slam a human being that's playing for your football club, that's giving his absolute all, that's actually not playing that badly. You want to make yourself feel better by making him feel shit. Yeah, you'll be on your own Facebook sharing something about men's mental health the next day, and that's what Daniel Farke is saying, and he's spot on. It's not just this isn't just a Leeds problem; it's a society problem. But
and you're bang on there, Jay. I remember 10 years ago, right in 2014, absolutely true story. This because Dean Oyle was chairman at the time, came on Radio Leeds and told the story. Right, we had a player, you might remember him, called Majewski, the Polish lad. I don't know if any of you remember him. So we played Bournemouth on the first day of the season, got smashed 4-0, and it was the day that Robin resigned. But Majewski, it was his first performance for Town. It was his debut, and this is the first day of the season, right? And because of what had happened in the last season, obviously we'd gone 4-0 down. He took Majewski off, and he went in the changing room, and he was in tears because he thought that the Town fans were booing him because of his debut performance. And somebody had to come in the changing room, I don't know if it was the kit man or whoever, and say, it's not you they were booing. It's the fact that the Town fans were booing the fact that you got took off, that they thought that you played well, and they were booing the fact that Robbins had took you off. But he was like mentally scarred I'm sure for a few weeks, because they had to take him out of the squad. And then it said, it came out that it had affected him a little bit. And
Simon Jordan's been on TalkSport today talking about an example similar to Crystal Palace, and basically it ruined his career. It couldn't get back on. Now look, we have to balance this out by saying it comes with the territory. You get paid the money that you get paid to be able to handle that pressure and handle the criticism. There's a certain amount, but then there's also a line, and I'm talking about the position that we find ourselves in. As a battling, recently promoted club, we should be vociferously behind everybody. We should be absolutely us against the world, wanting to help this team level up, because the quality that they've got is lower.
That's how we stayed up. That's how
absolutely is how you stayed up. I've mentioned to Browne, and I do need to go soon, so I'm going to stop rattling. I know I've been spending a lot of time, but me and Brownie, we've been talking about teams that shouldn't have stayed up, that have stayed up in recent streams. We all remember the West Brom team that were bottom at Christmas under Brian Robson, had no right to stay up. They were crap, and they turned a position of complete lost cause around to be able to stay up with the likes of Jeff Horsfield up front.
That was the best final day to a Premier League ever.
Unbelievable.
Like eight teams, wasn't it?
Then Palace and Southampton or something.
That happened because of the culminated feeling that they drove behind, not because of the quality of the footballers. They willed that over the line, and you can do that. And look, Leeds fans are the best in the world. Like they are unbelievable, but they can also be the biggest curse. They can be one or the other. There's no in between. There's no in between with the Leeds fans. They're either a huge problem or a huge asset. The season that we stayed up under Jesse Marsh, the fans and Rafinha kept us up. Like Ellen Road back into that season was absolutely nuts. Wasn't it, Brownie? You remember? You think of Norwich at home and stuff like that. Like we willed that over the line, but at the minute we're causing, or we contributing towards the problem. I'm going to stop talking now. I'm sorry.
I think that wraps it up, doesn't it, Chris?
I was going to bring Jed Scott in just to clarify. He says the City game could be the final nail in the coffin for Farker, then, Joe. Yeah,
I think so. I think it's very likely that we go there and get pumped. If I'm honest, I think we go there and probably get pumped.
Isn't that surely that's a game that you look at and like, well, it doesn't matter who's like. I mean, I know we've said about it not mattering who's in charge for Leeds this season anyway. It's going to be a struggle, but that really is one way you look at it and think, surely that'd be, it's like going to Arsenal and losing heavily. Like going to City and being pumped is to be expected. I guess I would have thought maybe the home performance against. I appreciate it's difficult in terms of it's Chelsea. It's a big game, but surely that'd be the more likely one where there'd be a reason, if Ellen Road particularly had turned, for example, on that day, rather than going and losing at City like everybody else does anyway.
I just think they will see it as a good excuse, a good opportunity to do it. And I think me and Brownie spoke about it yesterday, and I am really sorry, Brownie. I know I've been speaking a lot. But I just had a lot of things to get off my chest with it today. I felt this coming all day. I think the Chelsea and the Liverpool games, there's points to be got there. There is points to be got there, and I think that they may see it as an opportunity to get the fans behind them and to really go at it. Especially the Liverpool game, we're seeing what they're going through at the minute. If you've lost faith in Farker and Farker's ability to be able to galvanise not just the players but the crowd, you have to make that decision. Whoever it is, I'll get behind them. But I will say, I told you so. I'm warning you now. I'll tell you, I told you so.
Brownie, any final thoughts then before we wrap up?
Yeah, I could see it happening after the Man City game too, and then it's roll the dice time, isn't it? Then and see you end up walking in the door as manager. But I think whoever, and if it happens, we need some unity. I think we need that unity, because that's what's missing. Like Jay says, we had that in that year we stayed up, you know, we had that unity, that sense of togetherness. I think, you know, at the minute we don't have it. We don't have it. It's toxic, and I think, you know, that's not helping. But yeah, we'll wait and see. Hopefully, you know. I mean, the thing is, you know, I would love to see us go and nick something at City. I mean, it would just be absolutely unreal and just completely turn the narrative. But we're due some luck. We are due some luck. So you never know. You never know. Stranger things have happened, but we're due a bit of luck. But we won't hold his breath, and we'll just wait and see.
Never mind marching on together. It's more like fighting each other.
Good one, that Downsy.
I know. I've been thinking
It's
about
late.
that for the last 2 hours.
On that note, we'll wrap it up there then. A big thank you to everyone who's joined us over the course of the evening. A big thank you to Jed in particular for getting many comments in, and for James, one or two others as well that have got the comments in over the course of the evening. Big thank you to Browne, to Jay, to Downes, and of course to Gaz, who asked a little bit earlier on. Do keep an eye on our social media content for more content coming up over the course of the week. Brownie, Jay, anything? I'm guessing there'll be loads in the pipeline for you guys this week. Every other day you want to be on talking something. So keep an eye on our YouTube channel in particular for any upcoming streams on there. And I'm sure Downes and lads will be back at the weekend with another Town Talk show as well. But for myself and the rest of the lads, enjoy the rest of your Monday night, whatever you get up to, and we'll see you soon. Take care.